If you're sailing to the Gaza coast, be sure to carry non-violent hope in your heart. If you're sailing to the Gaza coast, you're gonna meet some people in motion there. All across the ocean, such a strange vibration. People in motion, people for beauty, people for love. There's a whole generation with a new explanation. People in motion, people for love.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're going to look at a highly charged geopolitical event, but we're going to do it in a completely unconventional way. By stripping away all the usual political talking points surrounding the recent Gaza Flotilla incident, we're going to examine it entirely through the objective, kind of cold lens of algorithmic efficiency and systems engineering. We're looking at a fascinating source that analyzes this whole situation not as a human conflict, but as a clash of codes.
So here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the flotilla as an algorithm. Second, we'll break down military predictive logic. Third, we'll explore the concept of the ghost flotilla. And fourth, the weapon of beauty. Let's get right to it.
All right, part one, the flotilla as an algorithm. Essentially, analyzing geopolitical clashes as code.
To really grasp this, we have to stop viewing modern military actions as spontaneous human decisions. Instead, we need to view them as the calculated, highly optimized outputs of a black box artificial intelligence. On one hand, we have the human, emotional interpretation of the conflict. The public debates over international law, piracy, self-defense. But on the other side, we have the algorithmic reality. Behind the scenes, these military operations aren't really debating ethics. They're running cold, predictive logic designed entirely to calculate deterrence matrices and minimize reputational damage. It is a completely different language.
Because to these advanced systems, a flotilla isn't a group of people or a humanitarian mission. It's literally just a cluster of data points. Think about how algorithms curate your social media feed to keep you scrolling. Well, military algorithms curate combat scenarios to minimize friction. Variables like GPS coordinates, ship speed, even the social media profiles of the activists are fed into predictive military models like the Gospel and Lavender. These AI models simulate thousands of scenarios to calculate the absolute optimal moment to strike. For example, intercepting a ship exactly 500 miles out at sea, where resistance and media coverage are mathematically minimized.
Moving into part two, military predictive logic. Let's decode the hidden rules of this AI.
To truly understand this, we need to act as algorithmic translators for a second and uncover the specific, hidden prompts guiding the military AI. The goal isn't just basic security, it's extreme, ruthless efficiency. Listen to these evaluation criteria from the source. Maximize deterrence. Minimize direct physical friction by choosing deep international waters. Manage reputational damage by keeping the event far away from live streaming coastal cameras. And finally, neutralize the symbol of the journey itself. The system is fundamentally designed to turn a passionate human journey into a quiet, boring bureaucratic procedure.
Which brings us to a frankly terrifying concept, algorithmic banality. When a machine's code achieves perfect operational efficiency, human oversight basically just vanishes. I mean, if the dashboard flashes that an interception plan is 95% efficient and poses zero tactical risk, the human commander often defers entirely to the machine. The sheer efficiency of the code completely replaces human moral judgment and all the nuances of international law.
So that begs a pretty massive question. How do you defeat an algorithmic logic? If the military blockade is essentially just an algorithm running on efficiency rules, how exactly do you engineer a strategy to beat it? Because you certainly can't beat a supercomputer with physical force.
That brings us to part three, the ghost flotilla, hacking the predictive model.
The text outlines this totally ingenious counter-strategy where activists shift the battlefield entirely. Instead of physical confrontation, they use semantic sabotage. The ghost flotilla is designed to turn the AI's own efficiency rules against it by creating a scenario the code simply cannot compute without violating its own parameters.
Let's walk through how this theoretical hack actually works. Step 1. Zero cargo. Why? Because carrying absolutely nothing eliminates the logistical threat parameter the AI relies on to justify an interception in the first place. Step 2. Swarm tactics. Instead of one large ship, you use 50 tiny boats. This fragments the target and completely saturates the AI sensors, making the cost-benefit analysis of intercepting them mathematically ridiculous. And finally, total transparency. Activists stream live biometric data, like their own heart rates. This creates an undeniable blockchain of truth, permanently preventing the AI's masters from retroactively claiming a violent threat ever existed.
By completely inverting what the system expects to see, presenting a zero-risk score across the board, the Ghost Flotilla forces the predictive algorithm into a massive lose-lose paradox. Think about it. If the military intercepts completely empty, fully transparent boats, it becomes undeniable, legally indefensible piracy. But if the AI ignores them because they pose zero mathematical threat, well, then the activists successfully break the blockade. It is literally a computational checkmate.
And for our final section, Part 4, the weapon of beauty, the ultimate semantic sabotage.
This introduces a deeply philosophical variable into our matrix of code. Picture this: physical cargo replaced entirely with cultural data. Imagine these boats transmitting classic 1960s anthems about people in motion, or reciting Muhammad Darwish poetry over emergency marine frequencies. The activists are using nostalgic beauty and universal human concepts as a highly advanced form of cultural sabotage against a machine that only understands ones and zeros.
Think about the contrast between what the system expects and what it actually gets. Military visual sensors are programmed to scan for hostile tactical behavior, right? But what happens when the actual input is a group of musicians playing cellos on an empty deck? The AI literally lacks the capacity to process the symbolic value of a cello or a poem. It's structured data, so it isn't just background noise, but it's not a threat either. The result is a total cognitive short circuit.
As the source puts it, beauty slows down military action. By confronting highly trained, armed commandos with a choir of unarmed poets and artists, the strategy forces a fatal cognitive delay. It proves that human art and emotion are the one set of variables the algorithm absolutely cannot compute or categorize.
So here is the ultimate takeaway. You cannot fight a binary, hyper-efficient AI with physical force. You will always lose that math equation. You have to disarm it by overlaying its rigid threat or non-threat grid with the infinite, unquantifiable complexity of human emotion and art. It completely breaks the semantic narrative of a standard security operation.
Now sure, political critics might look at a boat full of singing poets and call it completely useless. It doesn't move tons of aid or change borders overnight. But the source argues these symbols possess profound, long-term utility. They break predefined narratives, and more importantly, they build an emotional, historical memory that outlasts any short-term algorithmic calculation. They establish an undeniable historical truth that raw data and propaganda simply cannot erase.
Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder. In a world increasingly dominated by cold, algorithmic efficiency, is the survival of our humanity dependent on these unquantifiable, quote-unquote, useless symbols of beauty? If our geopolitical realities are increasingly dictated by highly efficient, emotionless, predictive logic, perhaps the only way to retain our agency is to lean into the very things the machines just can't understand. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the code behind the conflict. Keep questioning the algorithms, and I'll see you in the next explainer.